This episode of the Good Ship Brothership is brought to you by non-stick coated pans. The modern non-stick pan was created using a coating of Teflon, which is polyethylene or PTFE. PTFE was invented serendipitously by Roy Plunkett in... Roy Plunkett. This episode of the Good Ship Brothership is sponsored by Roy Plunkett. Thanks, Roy. And now, on with the show. Say something.
Are you giving up on me?
No. Get your foot.
Welcome to the Good Ship Brothership episode...
Foot's way over on...
What episode is this going to be?
This is going to be episode 10.
Okay, so here's the thing. We recorded a couple episodes before this. But then there was...
one episode before this.
But there was a communication issue. We don't know whose fault it is. We're saying it's my fault because...
it probably is, to be honest.
Because I soak up punishment like a punishment sponge.
Somebody's got to do it.
I don't think it's my fault, but I'm just going to roll with it. It's all my fault. So next episode, we're going to say it's episode 10, but it's going to be episode 11.
Those of you who know the two of us, you know what to think.
It's not my... Whatever. I communicated poorly at best. Okay?
Yes, definitely. And at worst, you lied on purpose to try and sabotage the success of this good ship because you want us to fail secretly. You want the ship to go down because that's... Some people just want to watch the world burn.
I mean...
Some people, Master Bruce. Okay, that's...
I mean, the fact of the matter is, typically, artists like ourselves only get big after we die, and I figure I don't want just to die while the show is going, so I'm going to wrap up the show, and then, you know, if it all goes south from there, at least I'll know that we've done
On that note, let's begin the show.
Okay, dole out some of that cake, please.
Okay.
Today, Mom and I baked some chocolate pudding cake, so that's what we're having today.
Hey Ben, how's it going?
And then we have some Key Moon tea as well, so we will have a 9 p.m. feast.
So what this means is that we'll just be talking or just for
The pudding cake is so fantastic, though. Oh man,
it'll just be very hard to... I'm gonna have to leave. Here, you take this. Actually,
Why
no.
are you
I
gonna
just
have to leave?
Well, I have to stop the music before it starts again.
Well, I can stop
and
it.
then we'll be trapped.
Hang on, I can
forever.
stop it.
No, you can't. No.
Okay,
You don't know the sequence.
I do.
Oh, jeez, this is very sticky. Okay.
Stop it.
Oh no, we need the script too.
Stop it.
You're listening to the Good Ship Brothership, the only arts podcast that covers film, music, gaming, and literature, and...
John Turturro.
I'm Grant, and this is my sister, Jason. Oh, burn. I called him a girl, but he's a boy.
Somebody help me.
Oh, we're off to a great start, ladies and gentlemen.
What are we talking about today?
Oh, I need to... today...
A little bit of a special... It's not... That wasn't that funny.
I know, but that's why it is funny.
So, today we're doing a little bit of a special episode, sort of arbitrarily. Kendrick Lamar is an artist that we make no bones about, both being very fond of, and his new album, Damn, has come out about 2 weeks ago?
Maybe even 3.
Maybe even
Came
3
out
weeks
on
ago?
Good Friday.
So today, we're going to be talking about the music of Kendrick Lamar, with an emphasis on his latest album, but we'll cover all of them.
Let's flip the puppet anyway, because we're not actually talking about two...
Can't we go chronologically?
What we're kind of going to... Well, that's the thing. But it just feels weird to go into the show without flipping the puppet.
So we'll flip the puppet over nothing?
Yeah.
Okay.
But basically, we're going to be going chronologically through his latest 3 albums. We're leaving out Untitled Unmastered because it's mostly B-sides. It's not like a, as I said, it's not a tentpole release of his, which is a terrible phrase.
And one day we should talk about it, but I also don't have enough of an opinion on it because that's the only thing of his I'm not really familiar with.
We haven't... Well, that's the only of his recent works that you're not familiar with, but... So we're going to be talking about Good Kid, Mad City, To Pimp a Butterfly, and Damn, his latest release. And we should say, of course, if you don't like rap, if you don't like Kendrick Lamar, stick around nonetheless, because we might be covering some ground that could be new to you. And I definitely, a couple years ago, foolishly judged rap music and cast it all out of my purview because Trevor McNevin was not in that scene. Trevor McNevin, lead singer of 1,000 Foot Crutch. 1,000 Foot Crotch. We have to redact that?
No.
Crotch is a swear word in some circles.
Just flip the puppet, man.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm looking up an article that might be pertinent.
If the puppet's face up, then we'll high five. If it's face down, we'll hug. Okay, ready? Oh, it's face up. Rip headphone users.
Okay.
So who wants to go first? Actually, that's what we could have flipped the puppet over.
Let me start.
Fine.
If I may.
Sure.
Because I have the whole disclaimer that maybe we don't need to talk about it anymore, but I like to include it because I feel like it's fair.
Yeah.
First of all, I think it's important to note that Kendrick's music is a really like raw interpretation of his like kind of ghetto like Compton past. So like the subject matter, the lyrics are often shocking, profane, and descriptive of a lifestyle I would never back. That said, I really personally take no issue with that for a few reasons. First and most obvious, I don't really even have to say this, it's art. You should be allowed to say whatever you want and express yourself however you want, even if people don't agree with it. Like you just can't have censorship in art. It doesn't work that way. And then also, I think that if one wants an accurate representation of his upbringing and his past and what brought him to where he is today, like this is how it's going to have to be. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Even though I would never make an album like this, I have no issue.
Well, that's because we're not able to make albums like this. Because the fact is, Kendrick's the three albums we're talking about are all very much journeys. And unless you have a clear, well-defined starting point for a journey, whether it's spiritual or career-based, unless you have an honest, solid starting point for the journey, then it's not going to mean a thing.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is the albums are very explicit in content. I would never fault you if that's off-putting to you, but I think if you're able I think if you're able to, it would behoove you to dig a little deeper to find the depth and, frankly, incredible meaning that lies beneath.
I actually do take exception when people completely dismiss an artist because of swearing or something like that, because I think it's shallow and stupid and ignorant.
Yeah.
That's not to say you necessarily have to endorse or use that kind of vernacular, but I think it's narrow-minded and stupid to dismiss.
Yeah,
and one of these
fair.
days I will write a opinion piece and read it on a show explaining my opinion, but today is not that day.
Yeah, I mean,
Jason, you've done a whole boatload of research. Is it research or research? Is that how...
It's research. If you say research, I was going to say something that would be over the top. So his first album was Good Kid, M.a.a.d City. Do you know what year that came out?
That's actually not his first album.
Okay,
Jason.
I'm sorry. The first album of his we will be talking about today is what I meant to say. Good Kid, M.a.a.d City.
That came out in 1973?
Yeah.
73, I think.
2012?
I think it came... I was going to say 2008, but you really don't have this pinned down.
No, I'm sorry. We're off to a rough start.
Jeez.
So, Good Kid,
Jason's the one who's done all the...
I have like a 1,000 word
here.
document here, and it's not even on the newest album. So...
Snort.
But Good Kid, M.a.a.d City is an album that I only got into recently. The first album of his I got into was To Pimp a Butterfly.
2012.
Yeah, I was right. And then kind of in preparation for Damn, I got into Good Kid, M.a.a.d City to kind of understand his full modern journey, with the exception of Untitled, Unmastered. Apparently the album name means My Angels on Angel Dust.
Well, okay, let's pull back for a second. M.a.a.d in the title Good Kid, M.a.a.d City is spelled as an acronym M.a.a.d.
I was getting there.
Well, you can't say this is what the acronym means and then be like,
Sorry.
by the way, F on acronym.
Okay.
Because then people be like, Why didn't he say it's an acronym?
I'm
Here's
sorry,
what it means.
I'm an absolute lizard. I'm gonna go bury my head in the sand.
You absolute lizard.
So yeah, it's Good Kid m.a.a.d. City, which apparently stands for My Angels on Angel Dust, meaning that in the hood, your best friends and past friends are either dead or on drugs, is what I heard when I looked it up. At first, I wasn't sold on this album. It's the most, would you agree, it's the most conventional, like, hip-hop album out of the three.
Oh, for sure.
Sonically. And typically in the past, I haven't really connected with hip-hop, even though, I mean, I appreciate it's hugely influential and fantastic. But as time went on and I did digest the album more, I learned to really love it. I would still say it's my least favorite out of these three albums, but, I mean, it's still 99%. It's better than 99% of the music that's out there today.
I just want to know, are we going to be trading blows on, like, all throughout this, or are you going to go through his first two?
No, let's just
and
have a
then talk
conversation. This is a different album.
Wow.
You want to jump in? You jump in.
Wow.
Go ahead, big dog.
I don't know what to say. No, I'd say Good Kid, M.a.a.d City as a starting point, kind of, I think, for Kendrick's really, I think it's his second studio album. So I think his first one, which was Section 80, I believe it's called.
And we have not listened to that.
Yeah, I haven't even listened to a single song. But Good Kid, M.a.a.d City really feels like a starting point. It's the story of his adolescence, his youth, his coming of age in Compton, which is a gang infested, or was at the time. It must still be. If
Just south of Los Angeles. It's like a suburb almost.
Yeah, a very black neighborhood. And it tells a story of his upbringing, his struggles with faith, which some people I know I was very surprised to kind of like come to grips with that and be faced with the fact that Kendrick Lamar, whether you like it or not, as if you are perhaps a Christian or profess that faith, like it or not, the guy is kind of has intrinsically tied himself up with Christianity and God and Jesus. In I don't mean in terms of, you know, delusions of that sort of thing or comparing himself, but he is, from my vantage point, he seems to be a Christian.
Absolutely.
Of a very fascinating nature. Mm-hmm. But anyway, what I trippingly have tried to say there is that this is the story of his journey to faith, away from faith, back to faith. These are his relationships with his friends, people who he thought were his friends, his interactions and encounters with mob and gang life and behavior. And I think it's a wonderfully told narrative. It's kind of, this is something that always reaches out to me or stands out to me, is how, as a musician, as a writer, do you stitch together a cohesive narrative throughout an album without just making it an opera?
Yeah.
Without having, and he's done this in a number of really, really elegant ways on this album, having phone conversations between him, or one-sided phone conversations between him and I believe his parents. His actual parents. I think it's actually them. Later on in this album, he has a conversation with an older black lady who is actually Maya Angelou, the acclaimed actress. Excellent actress. And she leads him and his friends on the Sinner's Prayer at the end of the album. So that's a really interesting, you've always got the Pink Floyd The Wall method of reoccurring musical motif, leitmotifs as they are referred to, and even repeated songs in an album. But Kendrick's model of literally lacing it together with bits of phone conversation was a really interesting one that kind of continued the setting of the story as him romping through the streets. Yeah. Yes. What were you going to say?
I want to read a couple paragraphs from this article that we had talked about just off the air a while ago. Because you talk about weaving things together, and this talks about how he weaves his subject matter together. And this is an article from Christianity Today, who I can't say I've ever read before. entitled Kendrick Lamar's Duo with Damnation. So it's not ours or anything, because a lot of times people watching us for those copyright strikes.
Yep.
So on ChristianityToday.com, they say, Kendrick, meanwhile, consistently envelops his narrative of hope and despair with overtly Christian language and theology. Good Kid, Mad City, for instance, dealt with his salvation experience from the temptation streets of Compton, gang violence, drugs, money, and sex, to the faith in Christ, and To Pimp a Butterfly's funk, soul, and jazz vibe moods outline Kendrick's working through self-doubt, anxiety.
Which? Funk, soul, and jazz vibes in which?
To Pimp a Butterfly.
I see. So we've moved on.
I said To Pimp a Butterfly. No, I'm just reading through this quote about Kendrick. Okay.
What a train
and his
wreck
personal
there.
failure to find hope and identity in God. And then it goes on to say, and I found this very interesting, this guy analyzes like these gritty Christian artists, I guess you could call them. I don't know, I hate that term. They say that Kendrick combines the sacred, profane, and secular in a tightly woven social knot, which creates a type of nitty-gritty music in which the audience members are able to relate and engage. As a hip-hop religion scholar, Monica Miller notes, however, it's not a contradiction, it's life. Hip-hop is okay with complexity. It doesn't have to be either or.
Oh, amen.
And I think that's what we see in his album, is he's, like, very honest about everything, from his faith to, like, his, like, upbringing around, like, these gangbangers and stuff.
Anybody
like that.
can claim that God saved them, but only you can claim that God saved you from this, from your past, from your struggles. And that's the potency of this approach, this slightly profane, squirmy, uncomfortable approach, these settings, characters, and activities that, I don't think Kendrick condones at all if you actually read through and listen through the entire album.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever condoned them. I think he sees them as vacuous and hollow, temptations and sinful ultimately. But I think that he presents them in an extremely honest sort of way.
And I wouldn't have it any other way. Like, it's just so refreshing.
If he didn't, there'd be no point. There's no juxtaposition. There's no struggle or honesty.
Look at the time code. I don't think I'm going to say anything we'll have to cut. I'm pretty sure. I think we've gotten pretty good at this. But I'm going to say this because some people might not like this. But I feel like today, Christian music is full of over-sanitized,
I already know I'm not going to cut this.
frankly, unauthentic music that's just not... I appreciate that it helps people, but I feel like it's not this honest representation, or if it is, it's only a representation of, like, the clean, happy side.
Well,
like
the King's Kaleidoscope, the band got dropped from a number of Christian festivals because they've got the F word in one of their songs. And it's like, if that's the kind of... If a Christian is somebody who goes running and crying because, they don't like a word in a song, and they can't, cope with the band who... I'm sure you could ask the band, hey, can you please not say that in concert? We're going to have young kids at this festival. Or, hey, can you please just drop that song from your set list? And maybe the band would comply. Maybe the band would say, I'm sorry, we feel this strongly. Mm-hmm. But to just ban that and to just act like that's not a thing, or that's not part of humanity, it's just gross. And it's this insular view that Christians and the church have of themselves, where, in order to be sacred, we cloister ourselves away. But in reality, like...
That's never how it was, or how it was supposed to be.
That's not what I'm going to say. But in reality, people engage so much with the secular, popular, they're just...
That's true.
They're so... people. I guarantee you, pretty much everybody who's going to be at something like that, a festival like that, or is just Christian in general, doesn't solely listen to hymns and praise and worship music, and has never sworn, or like when somebody swears, they don't go, excuse me, because that's just not life. That's just not an honest depiction of life. Now, if they had, never mind. This is crossing over too much.
But here's the thing. I'm sorry if anybody thought we were going to do like these really cohesive reviews of his albums, and we'll do that a little bit.
When have we ever done that?
But this is a discussion of Kendrick and the culture surrounding his music in general. And I do think it's just important to say that...
We will get to a review of his new album in the second half of this program.
That, like, some of this stuff kind of bugs me. Like, why is it all right for the community? Like, everyone watches Game of Thrones,
Exactly,
a show that
yeah.
has some of the most, the highest sexual content of shows,
Or
and like
Mad Men,
or Mad Men. But as soon as you listen to this, like a secular rapper or something, it's like, oh man, Game of Thrones isn't giving anyone spiritual content. But
Now,
that said, yeah,
that said, I know many Christian people who do listen to Kendrick
of
Lamar.
course. I'm just
So
saying,
it's not, yeah.
I'm talking about
but
Christian pop culture, not
There are
individuals.
some tulips who disagree, and
But I mean,
that is their prerogative. However, my argument is more convincing, and it is better.
I'd rather have a challenging album that is meaningful than some sanitized.
And there is absolutely no arguing whether or not these albums are meaningful, and that I think is the power.
No,
So moving on from Good Kid, Mad City, which was this contained, much more not flowing, but much more linear narrative of Kendrick and his relationship with this girl, and his relationship with his friends, and his, I don't know if it's actually completely autobiographical, criminal activity,
Yeah.
and gang interactions as well.
yeah, I mean, basically to sum up the album, it's his journey up to the point when he records the album, almost.
Yes, and it's set to a backdrop of much more conventional rap style, a lot of drum machine, a lot of synth sort of stuff. I quite learned to enjoy the textures and the flavors of the album, and the beats and whatnot are quite good, especially on songs like Swimming Pools.
Oh my goodness.
The chorus, I said this to you a while ago, it's probably the only Kendrick Lamar song, that chorus is the only part that he's written that I'm like, I wish I had written that verbatim
Yeah.
myself. Because the rest of it, I mean, he can have it. It's rap, it's hip-hop,
Yeah.
not my domain, but that, I want that.
Yeah, and I do think that Good Kid, Mad City has, like, probably the best beats. Like, it's just, oh man, like, backseat freestyle. Grant called me into the room for this song. I'm not really actually a huge fan of that song. That's one of the weaker tracks, in my opinion.
One of the
But
best tracks.
before I had heard it, Grant called me into the room and he's like, hey, you want to hear a hard beat? And then he just played it, and I was like, man, that's a hard beat.
The hardest
Yeah.
beat,
Oh my
next to something else that we'll talk about later.
Yeah. But my standout tracks from this album
Yeah.
would be Good Kid, the song, then the song The Art of Peer Pressure, and Swimming Pools. Those three are all fantastic.
For
But
me, I think I'd say Backseat Freestyle and Swimming Pools, and then either Sing About Me, I'm Dying of
that's a good
Thirst,
one.
or Mad City, I think it is.
Yeah.
Let me quickly scrub through this and try and find.
Okay, that's fine. This is also such a good song. Are you gonna turn it up so you can hear?
I love that. Dun, 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 dun. That's
Yeah.
such a typical, like. Yeah, this is it. Yeah, this has got to be in my top 3. Listen to that. And that actually puts me in mind, before we move on, like I said we were going to 5 minutes ago, of one of the other ways he kind of weaves his narratives together is different voices.
Yes.
And that kind of like wimpy, nerdy sounding voice that he adopted there is like young Kendrick in first person. And I think that's genius. And that's one of those things that's, I'm like, I wish that my music slash brain allowed me to think of things like that, you know? Anyway, let's leave Good Kid, Mad City back in 2012 and move ahead to 2015 to Pimp a Butterfly, which is the album that you and I both approached first.
Yeah.
Out of the Kendrick Lamar canon, much like all white millennial men.
Yeah.
And we listened to it and we were like, geez, I'm sweet.
And
Anyway.
that's how we got shot in the back alleyway, out back of Starbucks.
Whoa. Anyway,
Was that too much?
I don't know.
Let's remove that.
No, I'm not removing it.
No? Okay.
No, you gotta be confident in your words, young man.
I'm not.
I'm not redacting anything
Okay.
anymore. To Pimp a Butterfly coming off Good Kid, Mad City, and again, I wish I had been listening to Kendrick Lamar when To Pimp a Butterfly dropped, because that was one of the albums that I missed. I missed the buzz. I missed the initial rush of excitement for it, but I was on the sidelines hearing about it. Aaron Soch, our producer, excellent friend. Not our producer.
Your producer.
The band's producer.
Yeah, not for the show.
Band's. Okay, can you not put your feet like right underneath my body? Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you have no idea what I put up with. Aaron Soch ranted and raved about it at the time, and I definitely ignored him. But anyway, moving on from the kind of closed personal backstory narrative of Good Kid, Mad City, To Pimp a Butterfly explodes outward to touch on the fringes of politics, but a lot of capitalism, greed, fame. This is an album that's soaked in Kendrick Lamar's newfound fame, and he's grappling with it. He's trying to understand it. He's trying to look at it from a distance while simultaneously living inside of it. It's broad and it's sweeping and it's less narratively direct than his previous release.
But I think it still has a strong, like a very strong, coherent narrative.
Not nearly the same as we were at my house, then we went down the street to my brother's house, or to my buddy's house, and then it's a lot more. The story's there to guide and funnel the topic and provide a foundation to it. And it does that very well. His use of an unfolding poem, which he recites.
Oh my goodness.
He adds lines onto it and comes back to it throughout the album, is like just one of the most ingenious devices that's really ever been committed to an album.
I was just going to say, I think it's one of the most like quote unquote innovative things in an album that I've heard in like decades.
Now, to touch on the just upfront storefront stylistics of the album, I really can't talk today.
Me neither.
Like I haven't been able to talk all day. I'm so glad we're making a podcast. Yeah, I'm so glad this is going to be recorded forever. So coming off of Good Kid, Mad City, going to Pimp a Butterfly, I hate it when somebody begins a title of anything with a preposition. Who would do that to a band or anything? That's an article, but I mean, is to a preposition? It is, isn't it?
No, a preposition is like
from.
Yeah, well maybe.
So to is then.
I'll Google it. Keep talking. I'll Google it.
We need to know. So, To Pimp a Butterfly is a radical departure from his previous offering, but looking back, I can't believe that he pulled off the radical departure that he did without people going, "Oh, come on, man! Like we see you, we know it's still you hiding behind those bushes of funky jazz." And so this whole album pretty much is live band, jazz coming out your ears,
but still hip hop
crazy. Oh like, man,
it's such a beautiful blend.
The music of this album far surpasses, I think, anything he's done. Slight spoilers to the encroaching discussion on his new album. But anyway, live band, there's crazy piano weaving in and out. On the opening track, Wesley's Theory, Thundercat, a bassist / producer / musician, does, I think, I'm going to go out on a limb and say this right now, my favorite bass ever recorded, with this wicked, like, filtered wub 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 kind of, it's just, and he's scatting all over the place with a bass. Who does, aside from John Entwistle, who's done that? And with just a deep subterranean bass synth underneath it, amazing. You got saxophones, you got big band stuff, you got ridiculous, like I said, the Thelonious Monk, Oscar Peterson almost styled frenetic jazz pacing of For Free. The album is much broader, but still retains the depth of the original one. And I think it still has to be my favorite, because as I'm talking about it, I realize, again, how much I love it.
Now, here's the thing. I'll just start with my review. I thought for a long time, because I normally do pros, cons, whatever. There is literally nothing bad I could think of to say about this album. This is one of my favorite albums of all time. unless there's something I forgot about that was fantastic, I don't think we've ever talked about an album that I liked as much as this one.
Yeah.
By the way, 2 is a preposition. I'm just gonna throw that in there.
Preposition.
Yeah.
What did I say?
No, you thought it was a preposition.
I said preposition?
I think so.
Your boy still got it.
But To Pimp a Butterfly, just to contrast it to Good Kid, Mad City, is less track-based and more focused on the album as a whole. For instance, there are a couple, like the For Sale interludes. Like, you wouldn't be like, you know, man, hook that up. I want to listen to that. Is that what they say? Hook that up, man.
Yeah.
Hook it up.
Wire me in.
Yeah, wire me in.
Cyborg.
Yeah. So there are tracks like that.
Bring me my hoverboard.
Write down that timestamp. But there are definitely tracks that are just to get you from point A to B, but I love that about it. Like Grant said, how he repeats this poem is just incredibly powerful and makes me like really emotional when I hear like throughout the whole album. This is a perfect example against what we normally talk about. Usually we talk about how albums should be shorter, like oftentimes a 10-track album is perfect. This album is 16 tracks and like 78 minutes long, but...
However, I think that this album is such that you don't think of it as you're listening to it as being this mammoth, like, again, to go back to the in my opinion, the father of the concept album, The Wall.
Yeah.
That's a mammoth.
Didn't Quadrophenia come out first?
Quadrophenia? Maybe, but I think The Wall is way better. It perfected that form. But The Wall is a massive... I think it might be 26 tracks. So a 10-track... Another album tacked onto this. That's big. That's massive. That's excessive. It's amazing. It's one of my...
But it's only about
top
10 minutes longer, right?
Albums of all time. I don't think so. I think it's quite a bit longer. I think it's over 2 hours. But I could be completely wrong. But To Pimp a Butterfly does only have probably 10 or 12 songs, and I put that in heavy quotation marks, and then the others are kind of flowing, easing, swooping to and fro these larger ideas.
So I googled how long is The Wall by Pink Floyd, and you know how Google has functions where it'll tell you stuff? So I'm not lying, I'll show this to you. It says The Wall, album length, and then it just says 2,362.
That's a long
album. But it doesn't
album.
say what.
That's a long album.
We're really off track.
Thing.
I feel like I just don't...
off track.
Okay, I guess. I'm
talking about concept albums. I'm talking about the running time to Pimp a Butterfly. Kendrick Lamar's third studio LP.
Also, I would definitely say that To Pimp a Butterfly is my favorite concept album since The Wall, and even then, honestly, I think it's a bit of a toss-up for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I put down here where Good Kid, Mad City is a story of Kendrick's upbringing. To Pimp a Butterfly is the story of his rise to fame, subsequent disillusionment, and finally his return to glory and his return to his roots. Like, he goes back to Compton. Yeah, musically, the album definitely stands out for me way more because of its jazz elements. It's just more something I connect with, so it has an inherent advantage.
And it just really serves the album.
And the album is so diverse. There's everything from King Kunta, which is like basically straight up hip hop as far as I know. Like I said, I'm not a huge hip hop person. To the last track, Mortal Man, which has this cut up interview with Tupac.
Yeah, that's a wild thing, isn't it?
And so like the album, like this album has parts of interviews with Tupac. Like it's just like...
So basically Kendrick Lamar went in, edited out an interviewer from an interview with Tupac, and then inserted himself in it. And you'd never know. And it's but once you do know, it makes it even more awe-inspiring and moving.
Yeah.
Because it's like he's seeking advice from, somebody who's already passed on. I don't know. It's just this weird reaching back through time, seeking advice, one generation reaching out to another. It really is a amazing conclusion to that album. And I think that, it's not something I listen to every time I fire up that album, but when I listen to that album from start to finish, it's one of the best closers and the most unconventional album closer I think I've ever heard. An interview?
Yeah.
Who does that? You know, normally you save your lighter waiver for the end of the album, and there's nothing wrong with that. But this is more impressive and more interesting.
Oh, and can I say...
There's something else I want to say.
Now we're kind of in the middle. As a general statement for all of his albums, I never noticed this till I was making the notes. And see if you agree with this. I would say all 3 of his albums are not in the least bit front-end loaded. And that's like rarer than it sounds. Even a lot of great albums that I like have most of their best tracks at the beginning.
Yeah.
But because of his narrative nature instead of song-based nature, I think he spreads them out. And I don't think any of the albums are like, you listen to the first half, you know, how there are albums, I would even say, you were just on Boxer by the National.
Scrolling through the National.
I might say that even with Boxer, which is a fantastic album, you listen to like the front half and then the back half.
High Violet, though, front to back. Ow! Look at that. It ends on Vanderlyle Crybaby Geeks and Conversation 16.
We should do Music of the National sometime.
Holy snack. Anyways, that's completely neither here nor there.
So, my standout tracks. Are you like finished with your thoughts? I would say this album is as perfect as an album can be in my mind. I guess we both share a mutual like meh for the song Complexion. Is like
the little Complexion and what's the other one that I kind of am like, you know what? Institutionalized. I just don't like that guy's voice. Whoever that high squeaky dude is.
So I mean, it's certainly not like perfect, but I don't know, show me a better album and you'll show me a masterpiece, right? My standout tracks are How Much a Dollar Cost, Blacker the Berry, and King Kunta. Although, a shout out to Mortal Man, just because it's so
Mortal Man's amazing. Mine's definitely Wesley's Theory, coming
so
right
good.
in off the top.
Yeah.
Amazing.
What a great way to start off the album.
And as I listen to Kendrick Lamar's albums as well, if you want to listen to any of these, I'd probably recommend starting with... Actually, no.
I haven't. We'll get to that because I also have an opinion on that.
Yeah. But if you listen to the album, if you listen to one of his albums and you don't like it, set a timer in your phone for like 2 months from when you first listened to it. Come back to it and listen to it again.
I wrote down here and I skipped over it, and I'm so glad you said this. I was first introduced to this album around 1.5 years ago, and like I had heard the whole thing kind of thing.
By me.
By Grant.
My dad.
Wow, thanks.
Hey, no sweat, man.
Unironically. It took me at least a year before I fully appreciated it. Like, I liked it beforehand. I never disliked it, but the album has progressively grown on me for over a year. And I think that's kind of the sign of a
it's safe
fantastic
to say,
album.
Both the albums we talked about are like glowing, immovable pillars of classicness.
And I think we might be about to talk about a third one. We'll see.
Yeah, okay. So my top 3 songs off to Pimp a Butterfly are Wesley's Theory, The Blacker the Berry, and maybe Hood Politics.
The track I is also
Hood
really
Politics. Good. Hood Politics.
All right, dish me up some coffee, waiter. I'm gonna get some pudding cake.
There's no coffee here.
The pudding cake has coffee.
Strongo beepus.
And let's move on to the last one.
Jason's brought down all of our victuals on a huge crusty cookie sheet for some reason.
No, that's
That's just how we roll down here.
Well, it's because it had more thermal insulation than the other stuff, and it's bigger.
In the boiler room. We know what we should do?
What?
The Good Ship Brothership 100 subscribers special live from the furnace room.
And
just move our episode to the furnace room on the other side of the basement.
The water pump comes on, it's like... It would probably be more enlightening than our podcast.
Oakley dokley, Beppis, man. Should we flip the puppet and determine who's going to go first for their album review?
And note the time code, because we'll put in something at the beginning, like...
40 minutes.
Hello.
It'll be 40. That's what I always do, man. You just are unaware of what I put into this album. Jeez.
Wait, I gotta redo that. So if it's eyes up, you go first.
Ladies and gentlemen.
If it's eyes down, I go first.
This is what we've... Jason's football kicking.
Here's the kick.
Finger puppet.
Woo!
It's landed behind me, but I'm not turning to look at it because I
it's
don't
eyes
care.
up. That means you go first.
That means I go... That's what you just said, bud.
Yeah,
okay, so Damn by Kendrick Lamar. This was probably, for me, the most memorable release of an album in my life, and I know it's gonna stick with me forever. Jason, you can't tell. You can't tell a man.
I'm just amazed.
Why have you taken my CD?
I want to write down my standout tracks because I haven't done that yet, but I did for the others.
You are aware that you can Google it, and now that I don't have it, I'm completely thrown off. Oh, thanks for bumping my pop. Anyway,
thanks for ruining my life,
yeah,
Dad.
Thanks for coming into my life 4 years after everything was great. Jason and I are 4 years apart. You can guess which one's older by the mustache. This is mustaches. Anyway, jeez. Keep it together, Andrews. I think this is my most memorable album release, and it's forever going to be a very special one just because of events that transpired. The album was released at midnight on Good Friday, which fell on a Friday this year. Imagine that, the serendipity of it all. And I was working that Thursday night, late shift as I do. My coworker Adam, shout out to you, baby, if you're listening, which you're probably not, who also is a huge Kendrick Lamar fan, and I were working, and it was going to be a later night, so we decided to ask the supervisor if we could stay behind, play pool, and stream this album off of Adam's Apple Music, and play pool, like I said. And so that's what we did, and it was just a really cool experience to listen to an album like that for the first time right after it had come out with somebody who also loved that artist, and just, I don't know, it was just a really cool experience, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm trying to say. So, Damn, the album by Kendrick Lamar. Let me just start off by saying this is by far the ugliest album cover he has ever done. And
it was off to such a bad start.
I know you and I both agree on this, but the album cover, for those of you who haven't seen it, it's Kendrick Lamar looking kind of zombie-ish, really. He's got a weird glazed look on his face. He's kind of looking down. He's wearing a white t-shirt. He's backed by a red brick wall, and the album title, Damn, is in massive block capitals across the top of his head, and then it's ended with a period, and the period is cut off by the edge of the album. Man. And I don't know if... I'm sure he has some sort of artistic reason for doing that.
But it's not an artistic cover.
But it is something that will drive the OCD-minded people out there quite crazy. And I'm aware that I just opened a Pandora's box by invoking an actual disorder, blah, 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 get a life. Anyway, so on first, the album begins with this really weird, spaced out, kind of slow jam with an old-fashioned rap beat behind it, and then Kendrick comes in his kind of nasally voice that he has, and he begins narrating this story about how he bumped into a blind woman while he was walking down the street the other day, and that encounter kind of sends him on this journey of self-reflection, self-discovery, and spiritual renewal. Is that a good recap?
Yeah, I think so. She tells him that he has lost his life.
Yeah.
And so then he sets out on a journey to find it.
Yeah. I think this album is easily Kendrick Lamar's most personal album that he's made thus far, in so much as it doesn't venture very far out of his personal sphere, his mind, his heart and soul kind of thing, and his reflections upon himself.
I would say that, I guess.
Also, you know what? Just shut up for now. You know what, Jason? I'm listening to the people. The people say shut up. That's very rude.
So are you. Go ahead.
I'm gonna, let me just shoot through my review and then you can come back in, okay? I think it's his most personal. I think it's the most overtly spiritual, with track titles like Lust, Love, Feel, Pride, Humble. It's all about his spiritual grapplings with, again, his fame. But I think it really is different. It feels very different from the similar themes of To Pimp a Butterfly, in that he's not making sweeping statements or gestures about America or politics or capitalism or the African American people in general. This is an inward facing album, I think, for the most part. And there are some exceptions, and yes, he does speak somewhat about, hood things and doings, and he does speak a little bit on African American culture, but for the most part, it's how those things relate to him and to his journey. The style of the album is hung up in between that
Absolutely.
complete, very almost retro-minded sound, the cool retro synths and beatbox of Good Kid, Mad City, and the wild jazz infusion of Butterfly. And I like the styling of this album quite a bit. It feels more mellow, it feels more laid back, it feels more melodic, and much more stripped down and contained and focused, musically speaking. The music has taken a back seat in this album. And not necessarily at all in a bad way. I think the tracks are all still musically compelling and diverse, as you'd come to expect. But the narrative thrust is not really aided by the music, by the instrumentation of each track.
Yeah.
He does a few songs on this track in that kind of whiny, I'm Drake and I'm singing a song. I sound like Bob Dylan. He doesn't
Bob
sound
Dylan
like Bob
sounds a lot like Drake.
Yeah, that's true. I get the two of them confused on my playlist. But he does that. Everybody knows, I call you on the highway. And it's just like, are you singing? Are you speaking? Can you do either? The answer is, no, you're Drake.
So what does this have to do with Kendrick?
He does that.
Does he?
Throughout the album.
When?
Yeah. Have you heard the song Yeah?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah. All throughout the album, he does the kind of Drake singing thing. Now, Drake sounds stupid when he does it, because Drake's singing, I call you on the hotline bling. That can only mean one thing. Ever since I left the city, you got a reputation for... And he's not singing anything that means anything, and his melody sucks, and the song sounds anemic and stupid.
And he kind of sucks.
Yeah. Kendrick pulls it off to a much greater degree than Drake ever could dream of doing, because his lyrics are interesting, the melodies that he's singing are interesting, and the lyrics are interesting. Wow, what a novel concept. I found the sound to be amazingly fresh and interesting, and I can't believe that he's pulled that off.
Yeah.
Coming from rap and hip hop has such a set parameter, you'd think, of sounds and stuff. There's some stuff that even sounded a little bit to me, and I'm listening to this for the first time with Adam, who's a massive Mac DeMarco fan. Some of the stuff actually sounds like that laid back, verging on stoner mellowness that Mac DeMarco does. And I love that. I love that Kendrick Lamar actually took that into the rap hip-hop sphere. Now, my one detraction, really, my one critique, the one track that no matter how hard I try, I listen to it and I just snicker, is the track, the second last one, called God. And it's just... he's doing these weird noises like what I do when I speak on the show. And the main refrain is like, this what God feel like, huh, huh, and he makes like this goose sound like all throughout the song, and I'm like, Kendrick, I love you so dearly, brother, but what are you doing? But that's a small gripe. I consider it, to listen to one song and go, like, this is really not my cup of tea, as it were. I have no... But that is literally the only song on this album that I dislike. Now, let's broach the issue of U2. U2, when this album was first released, have a feature on the song XXX. And that made everybody nervous. It raised a lot of hackles. It made me nervous as a massive U2 fan.
But we have sort of a love-hate relationship with U2.
I do.
As much as we love
I have a
them.
realistic love for them. I have an unabashed, unrelenting love for 3 of their albums, which I think are masterpieces and pillars of music and art. Get your feet away from me.
My legs are long.
Yeah, but you're reclining. You're literally reclining.
Heaven forbid I relax on my own.
Yeah, I don't
internet
want
show.
you relaxing at all. So anyway, I was nervous about the U2 thing. Everybody was, I think. Wow! The boys did it! From the get-go, from the first lines that Kendrick raps on XXX, it sounds like...
Do you want to play some of it?
Yeah, I guess we can play a bit of it. Holy heck,
You can continue with your thought.
Okay. It sounds like an excerpt, and a good one, from Pop, which is my favorite U2 album. Let me just try and find... Even that sounds like something Bono would have written.
Yeah.
So we'll just listen to this for a bit.
Throw a steak off the ark to a pool full of sharks, yeah, take it.
Love this song.
And those, like, corny but amazing
Still make it.
record scratches.
Take the gratitude from 'em.
And
You some more.
And just the way that Kendrick's singing with that low, monotonous kind of thing sounds so much like Bono off Pop, and immediately my heart just leapt in my bosom. And throughout there, the beat gets way harder,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh!" And then Bono comes in, and I do think Bono takes the notch of the song down a couple notches.
Really?
I don't think he fits that well into the song. His singing. It took me out of because it's Bono. Like, Bono, what are you doing here? And of course, Bono, being Bono, for vanity's sake, probably really wanted to be singing on the biggest rapper in the world's album. Like, let's be honest with ourselves. I don't think it works that well. What I would love to have seen, or see, I mean, who knows, is like an Edge and Larry Mullen Jr. and maybe Adam Clayton produced Kendrick Lamar EP or something like that. Because man alive, is the Edge ever, for a middle-aged Irish white guy, man, is he good at making a hard beat.
Did he produce it?
I don't know that for sure. But all of the members of the band have credits. He didn't produce it, I don't think.
I'm just looking at that.
I can get out my liner notes too, man. Also, I bought the CD. CD's quite nice.
Took it forever to come.
Well, that was Amazon's fault, and I think my fault too. I think I was a little stupid. The liner notes are very spare. Of course, they don't have lyrics in them. Like, Kendrick never has lyrics in his liner notes, but they do have all the information I need. Produced by Mike Will Made It and DJ Donnie and Soundwave and Anthony Top Dog Tiffith. Additional keys by Kendrick Lamar. Good job, Kendrick. But anyway, XXX, super cool. I can't believe that U2 actually did as good of a job as they did. And then, I guess to cap this off, I'll just cite my experience with Humble, his first lead single that was included on the album because he released The Hard Part 4, but that's not on the album, etc., etc. When we first heard Humble, and we released a Knee Jerk, so if you can't remember what my exact position on it was at the time, like me, you can go back and listen to it. But I wasn't that sold on Humble.
Yeah.
At first, I listened to it, 3, 4, 5 times.
It sounded slightly...
It just sounded like not as...
A cop-out seems too harsh, but like a little bit.
It's just not as rappy. It's not as hard-edged as I think I had hoped. But the night when this album came out, myself and Adam playing pool, listening to it, and that song is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th in the album. When it finally came time for that song to play, I fell in love with it in a really weird way. And it was it fell right into place in the track listing and in the perspective of the album, and completely changed my mind on it, which is something I've never had happen to me before with any song on any album ever. So that was a super interesting experience for me. My top 3 tracks to end it all off would be DNA, obviously. That's probably like everybody's favorite song. Lust, which is an unreal song, even including the Donald Trump pot shot, which I wasn't, but whatever. It's just a great song. And XXX, just for the fact that U2 pulled off. I can't see what you want me. He's just holding up his.
My 3 standout tracks are Lust, XXX, and DNA that I have written down here.
Well, this is awkward. My top 3 tracks are not DNA, Lust, or XXX.
We wrote down the exact same standout tracks.
Stop copying me.
I
but
wrote it
also,
down first.
as you can see right here in brackets, I have Love as my
that's a good one.
As my honorable mention. Now, I think I've. Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay.
Go.
So,
Swing for the bushes.
when I first started listening to Damn, I was just incredibly excited because I was like, this is exactly what I want. And I think, was it 2015 that was just such a disappointing year for music? Like Switchfoot released a disappointing album, Our Lady Peace released a disappointing album, Coldplay released a disappointing
Kendrick
album.
Lamar released To Pimp a Butterfly.
Yeah, but I'm saying 3 artists, Coldplay, Our Lady Peace, and Switchfoot, all of whom we loved, all released like
really
bad
flimsy,
albums.
wimpy, cop-out, anemic pieces of crap.
Yeah. So I'm still kind of riding on a wave of disappointment, and I'm inherently distrustful of any album that comes out from an artist I like. But this album did not disappoint me. I would say it is...
I'm not peeing.
I would say it's... Okay, thanks. I was
In case
wondering.
anybody could hear
I
that.
didn't want to point it out, but...
I'm not peeing!
I would say I like it more than Good Kid, Mad City, but right now less than To Pimp a Butterfly. But I put down here, given the fact that it took me some weeks to warm up to Good Kid, Mad City and months to warm up to Pimp a Butterfly, I mean, who knows where this will be in a few months, so it'd be kind of fun to revisit. That said, though, maybe it's my taste changing, but I think it's more than that. I think it's the album. This album grew on me so much quicker. I immediately heard it and loved it. And I think it's a way more accessible album, and I say that as a huge compliment. I don't think music has to be accessible, but I feel like a lot of times people use that as a version of like watered down or mainstream. I don't think that at all. I just think it's more universally palatable.
I completely forgot to mention, and I mean this in the best way possible, and I know you'll agree with me, this album is way more a collection of songs. There are really almost no segue tracks in the entire album.
I mean, the first song is a segue track.
I said there are almost no. I didn't say there were none, Jason. Let's listen
also,
to each
while
other.
we're airing grievances,
but anyway, that's just
why is it that for your whole review I can't interrupt you, and then within the first minute of my review...
Because you were about to do your review, and I was doing mine, so I thought, you know what, you can save so you don't taint me with your witchcraft, and now that it's your time, you've tainted me, sir. I was an angel before you entered the scene.
You just won't stop talking Anyways.
Jason, let's not.
Okay.
But anyway... Now that my review's over, I just wanted to add a postscript onto it and say this album's much more of a collection of songs. It's not an operatic movement, and I love it for that.
And you know what, buddy? Feel free to chip in whenever you have something to say. I value your opinion.
Have some tea.
You just spat.
No,
okay.
Let's keep that between you and me.
Okay. We'll talk about that after.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so sorry it's come to this. This is not unraveling how I'd hoped.
I think To Pimp a Butterfly was from... Okay, let me try again. I'm a little bit frazzled. Due to circumstances beyond my control.
When you're frazzled, you just remind me of like a used eraser.
I'm back now. So I think To Pimp a Butterfly is about black culture in general. And then I think going back to Good Kid, Mad City, it's about Kendrick from the outside. So his like youth experiences, his friend group, things that an observer would see.
Yes.
I think to contrast that, Damn is very much also about Kendrick, but from the inside, the things that only he would see and know.
What I said? We agree, brother.
And I would also like to throw out that I think, let me just make sure I got the order right. Lust, Love, and XXX is one of the best, like, 1, 2, 3 combos for songs that I've heard in a long time. Love.
They're not.
Lust, Love,
Oh,
XXX.
man, they are all in a row.
Yeah. And every time I would hear the album, so what I would do is I would go down to my PC, play a game with the volume muted, and listen to the whole album front to back. And I did this every day for like 4 or 5 days. And every time when I would get to the first one of those, I would just be so excited to listen to the 3 of them.
Yeah.
I think in terms of, I already said this album's the most accessible, so I think it also goes along with that. I think if you want to get into Kendrick, this is the best place to start.
That's exactly what I was going to say. High five, brothership!
And what I would do from there is I would actually work backwards. I would go to Pimp a Butterfly next, and then Good Kid, M.a.a.d City.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Because I feel like that way you get context moving forward, and you open your view up about him as you go. Excuse me. That was a really big burp.
You stifled that well, my son.
Thanks. I think this is the album that I could listen to when I'm in the widest variety of moods and enjoy. It's way more chill than his other albums. Way more chill. Like you said, more song-driven, which I don't dislike, while still being a concept album, unequivocally.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's still his journey. And it really makes you wonder how many more, like, all 3 of these have been fantastic, and they've all been journeys that he's gone on. Like, how long can he keep this up?
Now, I could be completely out of base, and this will probably end up being something I'll completely regret saying, but I can't really think of an artist who's released 3 sequential albums that were this good. Not counting, of course, Untitled Unmastered, which is demos and B-sides. It doesn't count.
Yeah, we should...
But these 3 albums... We'll talk about this later, probably on our own time, but these 3 sequentially released albums could be the 3 best sequentially released albums of any artist. He is...
Old Coldplay is up there, but not as good.
No.
But
it dropped off at X and Y.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, like, Rush of Blood to the Head...
No,
and
Parachutes, Rush of Blood to the Head, X and Y. But X and Y...
But yeah, they're not as good. Jeez, I don't know.
Kendrick Lamar, the best way I can put it, the guy is the black hip-hop rap equivalent of David Bowie. Constant reinventions, reinvigoration, retooling.
Yeah.
Continue in your review. I didn't mean to highlight that.
So, again, I'm just going to address this briefly. The album cover is so bad, and it honestly takes away from the album for me, because I feel like that's part of the experience. And if you look at his 2 singles music videos, which were DNA and Humble, they're beautifully shot, they're gorgeous. Take literally any frame from either of those music videos and just slap it on the cover, and it would have been so much better than this.
Well, to be fair, I don't think that it's like... I don't think it detracts from the album. I think there are certain... I think it's the weakest of his covers, but let's look here.
I love the other covers.
Good Kid, M.a.a.d City. So throughout Good Kid, M.a.a.d City, the cover of my version of Good Kid, M.a.a.d City, I know some of them are like his dad holding him as a baby. Mine is a minivan on a street. And one of the leading... I think most of the story in Good Kid, M.a.a.d City actually takes place in that minivan.
Yeah.
He borrows his mom's minivan and goes out and hang out with his friends and see... his girlfriend Shireen, aka Master Splinter's daughter, and so that's pertinent. And then on To Pimp a Butterfly, it's him with a whole horde of people whom I assume are Comptonites,
outside the White House.
Outside the White House, so that's pertinent. On Damn, it's interesting that it's a solitary picture of just Kendrick Lamar. I think that's also indicative of the themes of the album. Yeah. And so I don't think that it's a mistake at all. I think it's a deliberate choice, and I think it's a good one, but it's not as well executed as I would like, but I wouldn't change it.
That said, we're getting a little too hung up on the finer points here. Not even kidding, though.
This is what we do.
If the period wasn't cut off, it would be fine. It wouldn't be great, but it would be fine.
Yeah.
But why is that?
It might be... to indicate it's not
complete.
the end is cut off.
I don't know. It's
circumcision.
It's like those memes. There's the meme page, things that are not aesthetic. No, I heard it. I just chose to ignore it. We've devoured this cake. Holy Moses.
We've had like a third.
I don't know that I have that many more thoughts on it.
It's good, boys and girls.
It's like there aren't really any songs that bother me. A couple of the things you said, I do agree with. Like on what song did you say that was? That he was making the weird sounds.
God. That's what God feel like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as soon as that came on, when Adam and I were listening to the album for the first time, I just started laughing uncontrollably and going, because it just sounds weird. I don't know why.
I also think that Duckworth is a fantastic ending track.
I have not listened to it enough.
Fantastic. And one thing I love about my experiences with this album is I almost never start it without finishing it in the same sitting. And I think that has made it better in my mind also. So yeah, all that to say, it's a fantastic album. Just came out a couple weeks ago. It's your life. Check out any of these albums. I don't think like you're doing it wrong if you check out any of them first.
Yeah,
but
whichever one you think would appeal to you.
My personal recommendation would be start with Damn and work backwards in increments of at least a couple weeks to let them digest.
Unless you're really turned off by the whole Drake singing thing.
But it's not that bad. Please, no, I would say try it, even if because you exaggerated too much.
But I mean, I did not exaggerate it too much. It is throughout the album. And I was thinking too. I think I'd say David Bowie is my favorite artist of all time.
Really?
I think so. But that's besides the point. My favorite era of his is the Berlin era.
Yeah.
When he recorded Heroes and stuff. And the Berlin trilogy of Heroes, Low, and the other one.
Station to Station.
No. Lodger.
Yeah.
I think. Is far inferior to
yes.
Kendrick's. Although I think Heroes is a better album than any of them.
Really?
I think so.
I disagree.
I think it's a much cooler album.
Huh, interesting.
But that's completely
another
besides the
conversation.
point. I'm just saying, my favorite artist has not released a trilogy, a sequential trilogy, it's important to note, of albums that are as good as Kendrick's last three. I can't believe that they're as good as they are. Yeah. I can't believe that they're so stylistically diverse. I can't believe that he's managed to speak on the same things while speaking on them differently.
He's managed to cover the same thing in three totally different creative ways, and it excites me because at this point I feel like I trust him implicitly, but I also feel like he needs to go somewhere else. I feel like this trilogy has been the perfect length, and I think that I'm really excited to see where he goes from here. It's like my favorite book series of all time, the Flavia DeLuce books. As I realize that they're coming to an end, I'm more and more excited for what he does next, even though I love his previous work, just because I know, like, someone who's made something as great as these.
His integrity is approaching being beyond reproach.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's excellent. I mean, you're really not going to find many people who disagree with that notion.
Yeah.
I'd just like to quickly, before we end, I know that we've gone probably over what we should have, but, heck that.
We try to keep it under, 55 minutes.
But we don't.
We don't.
Ever, really.
Sorry, we're failures.
Kendrick's, the rap fans who hate on Kendrick, they can go suck a thumb.
It's not rap, it's hip-hop, though.
People who say Kendrick's not even that good. Well, he is, and you're wrong.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there are the people who are just obsessed with Kendrick. They think he can do no wrong. Those people are annoying, too. He can do wrong. His albums aren't perfect, but some of them are pretty darn close. Both camps are frustrating. Don't sleep in either camp. Don't pitch a tent in either camp.
No, don't do it.
Both are irritating, juvenile, idiotic stances. Anyway, I feel like a tremendous burp is germinating within my body.
Cut it before you burp. Well, actually, don't let it run.
That brought up some things from my
We
past.
talked about this, unironically.
I had a little fart there, too.
P.S. I really love this...
I I like how we're just letting this episode just peter out. It's like a campfire.
I assumed we were going to cut this and let it run, but whatever.
No, this is all staying in, man.
So I guess then we should say that our recording software, we normally let it run for like a minute after we're done. So then our episodes normally peter out, but we cut it so it sounds better. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe this will get cut out too. But this this picture that I posted is so dank with us. Like, although normally both of us are in wife beaters.
Us, but it's not us.
Yeah.
That one dude does look a lot like you.
Yeah, I know. I like the
Has
Puka
anybody
shell
liked
necklace.
that?
Jonathan Capper is the only one.
Oh, Johnny baby.
Also, at the end when I said of our one thing, also you like how I put in.
No, Randy just liked it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You like how I put in.
Randy.
No, that's the other thing.
Oh.
So you like how I put in Good Ship Brothership is making rad podcasts?
That's a bald-faced lie.
Yeah.
But, you know.
And
what
then
can you
the
do?
oxygen thieves, I looked up.
The what?
We're helpless oxygen thieves is what I put at the end.
Oh.
In a spurt of unusual lack of creativity, I googled weird insults, and one of them was
I just remembered
calling
something.
people oxygen thieves.
Okay, so,
Well,
wait,
are
no.
we gonna cut this
We're
in?
gonna do... No, we're just gonna add this right now. So, Ben, just for you, hypothetical question.
No, is the episode gonna go on this long? Like we're not gonna cut any of
Jason,
this?
yes, it is.
Okay.
It is gonna go on this long because you know what? This is my The
This
Godfather.
is good. This is a good one.
This is 35 hypothetical questions to ask a girl like Ben if you want to know him / her on a deeper level. Okay, Ben, so we need you to answer these and mail us
How many are we gonna go through?
all of them. No, we're not going to do that. We're just going to cherry pick some of the best ones.
Okay.
Okay, so mail your responses to these. Okay.
If you go back,
If you could, this is a good one.
Yeah.
If you could go back and relive 1 year from your childhood, which year would it be and why? I can't say. I know that it would be at the height of our collecting and trading and playing collectible
I
trading
would say
card games.
either the year I was 7 or the year I was 10. Because the year wait, let me see if I got my math right.
Jason.
No, I would say either the year I was 4,
Oh, man, some of these are
because
good.
the year I was 4 was when we still lived at Cloverdale and we were all homies, or the year I was 10, which was one of the first years we lived out here and we were like crafting these weapons and living like a real life RPG. It was pretty sick.
We were so
Yeah.
cool.
So one of those two.
Okay, if you had to lose one of your 5 senses, which one would it be? Smell?
Yeah.
Who needs to smell?
I know. It should be aside from smell because then it's more interesting.
Smell is stupid.
Then it's more interesting. And some people,
smelling stinks.
because then normally the next thing.
Okay,
people say
we
is-
don't need. We
okay,
can't. We
okay,
can't
yeah,
go
yeah,
on. Ben,
okay.
if you how do you?
I don't care at this point.
If you could be an Olympic gold medalist, what sport would you want to be it in? And obviously running, because if you're a runner and you win, you get all sorts of contracts and deals, or like swimming or something. I want something that I can earn money for the rest of my life when I'm a decrepit, miserable, drug-riddled man.
You're one of those two things already.
Yes. Okay. This is a great one. If you had the option of choosing between a chauffeur, a live-in chef, a personal stylist, a masseuse, and a round-the-clock assistant for the rest of your life at no cost to you, which option would you go with? Here's my
Not a
question.
chauffeur.
Here's my question. The live-in chef, the chauffeur. Am I supplying a limousine and food ingredients?
How about no?
Because if I'm not, then, or if I am, then that live-in chef's going to be making a lot of grilled cheese.
Here's the thing with the personal stylist. Again, we have a bit of money. We don't have enough money to take advantage. Like the personal stylist is going to be like,
that's actually a stupid one. Let's ignore that one.
Well, I would say round-the-clock assistant. They could help me with school.
Let's ignore. Okay.
Yeah.
Aside from water, if you could only drink one beverage for the rest of your life, alcoholic or non-alcoholic, what would it be?
Beppis!
Bourbon. That's the only option. Smashed all the time. Okay, that's it. Goodbye. Kill it. We just got nothing left. Thanks, Roy.